Alright, so let's deal with some more comments from the shit for brain, denialist shit for brainers. Yeah. It just never ends. I really don't like too many of these people. Yeah, even the ones who are on my side are irritating. Why is it easier to change other minds, though? Others' mind, though. Alright, so that was a side comment in the last video about the modern mystic and the conversation about affecting brains. The simple answer is, look, my brain goes tick, 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 blah, 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 tick, 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 blah, blah, blah. That's what it does. Another person's brain might go in beep, 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 bop, 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 bop. Right? Now, there's a whole pile of information in my head, but it's all information my brain has had for years and years and years and hasn't really been able to do shit with it. Right? It hasn't made a really good cake. Well, it made a unification theory, but never mind that for now. Right? It just does this making shit noises. And maybe all I need is boop, boop, and all of a sudden I can do something really good. Tick, tick, boop, 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 and it turns into something, you see? So, my power to fuck with somebody else's head, you know, to stick my little finger in there and fuck with it, is much greater than my power to stick my finger in my own head and go blah, 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 because all I do is tick, 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 blah, blah. I can't do anything but tick, 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 blah, blah. Get it? Get it. Yeah, it's really simple. Fuck you, you're an idiot. I already explained this anyway. You should have already seen the explanation, so fuck you. When space bends, what is the bending away from the same way a tablecloth pulled away from a table? Goodbye. You're too stupid. Alright, Apiro, the fucking cunt asshole. Why this is impossible to engage with. No, it's really not that difficult. Alright, it's Lesage gravity to start off with, right? Basically, you could just say that. It's not, but you could say that, alright? I mean, I came up with it before I even knew Lesage gravity even existed. That 300 years ago, some guy figured out that particles might be pushing things together. Particles. And obviously there's a huge distinction between a traditional notion of Lesage gravity and my definition of it, in the sense that I made it kinetic, and I made both entities made out of the same force. The force is the same as us. We are made out of the force. E equals mc squared. So it's the force interacting with the force, and just the force in a different condition than the force out there. Force out here, one kind of condition. Force in here, different orbiting spin condition. Yes, they interact differently. They interact by certain rules. So anyway, so I disposed with the Feynman critique of raindrop bullshit, okay? I got rid of that by explaining kinetics, okay? And explaining that the head-on collision means absolutely nothing in a kinetic interaction. Nothing. It means nothing. Nothing happens. So that there's no more raindrops hitting me in the face argument. And then I also explained that as I gain velocity, I lose perpendicular dimensional reality. In the sense that my perpendicular dimensions get more and more transparent as I move faster and faster, because more of my matter has to be doing one thing, which is going in the direction of my velocity. A very cogent, simple argument. You don't understand that argument? That if I have bits moving in a circle, and I require that circle to move in a direction, that it's got to have more arrows going that way, so to speak. It has to spend more time rolling in that direction to go in that direction. You can't understand that it can't be doing this and this as much, this and up and down as much, if it's going that way more. You can't understand that? It escapes your fucking goddamn capacity to understand? So why don't you argue that, shithead? You haven't fundamentally argued any of this shit. You haven't tried to engage with it in any kind of rational manner. All you've done is give me quotes from the fucking Bible. That's all you've done, shithead. Nothing more. It's demonstrable and provable. That's all you've done, is quote God. Fuck you. 1. You make qualitative descriptions of pictures you've seen of the patterns. So I guess he's talking about the two slit experiment again. Well, yeah, I think maybe. Yeah, slits is in there. No, I'm making an argument that what they say this isn't what it is. Quite clearly. They show it in one condition, and I'm showing it in the other condition. The condition they're obscuring from view. I can demonstrate that if you want. Okay, here's single slit diffraction page. Okay, so here's a good image, and here's a good image. Look how long you had to go down this page before you got those good images. Right? Nothing, 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 nothing. This is double slit. This is double slit. Nothing, nothing. This is a double slit over there. I've used this image actually. These are horrible images there. Nothing, nothing, nothing. This is double slit. You can tell because of these breaks, and I'll bring those up later. There's no math that accounts for the breaks. You don't have any mathematical formula that describes the double slit experiment. As soon as you go more than 3 or 4 fringes away from the central maxima. If I ask you to tell me the intensity of fringe 10, number 10, you're not going to get the answer right using your math, retard. I mean, you're so full of shit. This science is awful. It's goddamn terrible. And you assholes keep just pretending it's not. This is the single slit experiment. This is the single slit experiment. No doubt about what's happening here. Clear. The pattern is there, rock solid. You can't miss it. And you keep pretending that this is about double slits. Fuck you. Anyway. Sorry, one sentence, However, the science is quantitative, which means absolutely nothing. You have a volume of something? You don't have a volume of anything. That pattern can be precisely calculated. No, so right there, you're making a claim. It's precisely calculated, okay, as to where and how the bright bands are. I'm saying that's an overt, insanely stupid motherfucking cunt misrepresentation of the truth. You have no personal knowledge of that because there is no fucking goddamn truth to that statement. It's wrong. You're fundamentally and factually wrong. Okay? This is the double slit pattern. Nowhere in your mathematics, if I ask you to tell me, well, where's fringe number 4? Where's fringe number 5? How bright is fringe number 5? You'll get the answer maybe correct. But you're not going to get this one here. So let's count how many fringes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see what's the total here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Huh. It's an odd number. That seems strange. Let's count these again. Let's count these little one here. I'll count the little one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. It's an odd fucking number. What does that mean? Odd number. Anyway, are you going to get so fringe 9? Are you going to get fringe 9 correct? Because guess what? Fringe 9 is totally obliterated in the 2-slit experiment. As is fringe number, let's see, so that'd be 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Fringe 16 is nothing, 0. There's the 2-slit experiment. Fringe 19 is a 0. 0. Is your math going to figure that out? No, it's not. Your math thinks this is the 2-slit experiment. That's what your math is predicting. This is the actual result. So don't tell me your predictions are 100% perfect and you've come up with the right answers all the time and all this bullshit, because it doesn't. Your math doesn't do this. Your math has nothing to do with the single slit being superimposed, so to speak, on top of the double slit. It's really 2 single slit diffraction patterns superimposed on each other. But anyway, your math doesn't cover it. Show me the mathematical formula used by any video on the subject. Show me where the mathematical formula will tell you that slit, whatever this is, 13 is a 0. And slit, whatever, 19 is a 0. Show me the math that does that. Fake, phony, fraud, liar, shithead. Retard. It doesn't put enough variables into the equation. The whole point is the math is too simplistic and it understates the reality and it misrepresents the truth. Okay, precisely calculated as to where and how the bright bands are. So here's, I've made this contention that they don't even do this math correctly. And it's grotesque what they're doing here. So here's an example. Well, let me find one that has the grid work placed on it, so you can see the way they're the way there's such a non-scientific way of doing mathematics. Okay. So what is supposed to be the truth here is that the dark bands are just as wide as the light bands, and what's happening is that they bleed over a little bit. So the dark bands always look smaller, but technically by the math they're the same size. Okay, these are all supposed to be half wavelengths of distance, and so you can see it right here that they're calling these the center. The bottom point is the base of the so it's like a half of a dark and a half of a dark plus this middle part, and then they compare these distances. So that's where they fundamentally got it wrong. So when I say the central maxima in the single slit isn't twice the size, no, it's 3 units of size. It's 3 of these fringe sizes. So if they just count the fringes instead of counting a half a fringe plus a half a fringe, you would understand what I'm talking about. So they've totally misrepresented what it really is. The central maxima in the single slit experiment is actually 3 of these units. This is not how it actually is. I mean, this diagram is more illustrative. Well, let me just show you the picture of the goddamn diffraction pattern, for fuck's sake. Here it is. Single slit diffraction. Now, it is at an angle which fucks this up a little, but I think if you just use a little bit of rational imagination, you can see that if I do with the edge of the brightness and the edge of the brightness here, that this distance of 2 brights plus the negative in between is less than this total distance, and if I did this plus this, that it's a tiny bit more then. So that accounts for the angle that it's off, but that this is really 3 fringes thick. This is 1 fringe, 1 fringe, 1 fringe. This is 3 fringes thick. And what's really happening in the single slit experiment is the center light's going right through and obliterating, which would be a dark band right here. There would be a dark band right here if you could do the single slit experiment with a laser that had a hollow in it or something. And let's understand that we already know from apertures that these diffraction patterns are deflections towards the matter. The mass is moving the deflection pattern this way. It isn't going this way. So apertures tell you that Newton's rings are on the outside. And so this is the one slit is diffracting this way, the other slit is diffracting this way. And this would be the center nothing, if it wasn't for the center light that's not diffracted at all going right to that point and wiping it out. Fuck. That's reasonable, rational, sensible, disciplined, good, scientific dissection of the reality. Not your fabulistic nonsense where you say that's an interference pattern. How is that an interference pattern, retard? Huygens. Fucking made up nonsense. Calculators to where and how bright the bands are, not just for any number of slits. Well, so if you use that, not just for any number of slits, but the number of obstacles. Yeah, so I'm just saying, so use your universal formula and show me how your universal formula in any way whatsoever describes the real images that are produced. So let's go find another double slit diffraction pattern in here somewhere. Well, we'll just use the one I have on this page. So go ahead and show me where your math accounts for this dark and this dark. This dark, where the bright bands don't exist. The bright bands are missing. Show me your math that describes that. That does that. Yeah, they just never do that math. You know what I mean? They always do the math with, oh, look, this, we can tell how bright this is. But they never do the, how bright is that? You know, because that would be too obvious that they don't have an equation that can do that. So anyway, something we have, yeah, we have. You haven't done shit. So saying you have done something is just so bullshit. Okay? I have actually gone out and looked at a ton of this shit and picked at it a little bit. You haven't done any of that. So there's something we have shit. It's just so fucking bullshit. You and what? Your church? something we have tested up to our ability to make the calculation because of too much complexity. Well, that doesn't even make any sense. This isn't all that fucking complex, idiot. The two slit experiment's pretty goddamn simple in terms of the mechanics going in. You got simple parts. You really should be able to describe this fucking thing. That is limited not by the math. That is limited not by the math. Well, again, it is the math that's limited. The math is not describing the actual two slit results. It's describing a synthetic fake thing. If you went by the math, you'd have a bunch of bars and you would have no loops in the bars. So far, but only by our ability to do the calculation the math requires. Look, I can take you back to the goddamn video the other guy linked me to the other day with the Japanese woman. And her math, you'll see it. You'll see her math. Her original two-slit math creates a straight line bar. And then she shows at the end of the video, well, the double slit experiment, when you actually do it, creates this loopy bar. That is limited not to the math so far as our ability to do. Your qualitative description misses differences clear in the more careful quantitative results. Well, no, it doesn't. So this is just a bogus statement of gobbledygook. No, my description of actual misrepresentations of the actual truth, okay, are not in any way subject to your slander as if they're insufficient. I've just pointed out how they're not even measuring the distances by any kind of rational way. They're not saying, well, this is 1 wavelength, 2 wavelengths, 3 wavelengths of distance. They're not even accounting for the fact that this pattern is a projection on a goddamn screen, and that your projection at the ends are going to be stretched by the fact that you're projecting them further. Your math doesn't account for any of that, does it? Does your stupid fucking cunt math deal with any of the optical effects of projection? No. The bands actually get thicker as you go further out, right? Because they're spread by the projecting effect, asshole. Okay. You say things like Einstein was stupid not to think about the electrons in making masking material. I'm saying, I'm not even critiquing Einstein on the two-slit experiment, so I don't even know where you got that from. My biggest critique of Einstein on the two-slit experiment is that he let it slide. Okay, he's made his critique and basically said, well, that's interesting, but it sounds like a pile of crap to me. Spooky, spooky, boo-boo-boo. And that was the extent of his analysis. He didn't do any analysis of the two-slit experiment. He didn't really try to explain it. He didn't even analyze the single-slit experiment. So my critique of Einstein is here he didn't realize that they were going to use this experiment to define the wave character of light, and then he was unprepared to make an argument in the future because he never analyzed the goddamn experiment they were basing it on. I mean, Einstein didn't want to believe light was a wave, and he only accepted it because he wasn't given a choice, because he kept getting humiliated in conversations because he was ignorant on the subject. In reality, in QM, that is exactly where they go. In reality, in QM, that is exactly where they go. So he's saying there's electrons that are created by the material on the edge of the matter, and by QM, okay, by quantum mechanics, it's not that the particles split into the two photons, go through both slits, and then have a wave pattern, and the wave pattern interferes with itself. No, he's saying that QM says there's a field created around the slit material, the matter, and the photons traveling through that field hit electrons that are lined up on those field lines I just described in magnetism. But anyway, on those field lines, and those field lines end up bending the photon because the electrons have a stable orientation. And as the electron is bent by the field lines, as the electrons are aligned in a different position, the electrons produce a photon in a different position. Retard. In reality, in QM, it's exactly where they go. Well, that's just a silly thing to say. None of your fucking priests are going to accept your reinterpretation of their God. It's the interactions of QM particles with other QM particles. Let's just make up a concept. QM particles. All kinds of photons, electrons, etc. Yeah, this QM particle fields and whatever. What up? Just a pile of shit. So instead of dealing with the real fact that there's a fundamental difference between an electron and a photon, let's just call them QM particles because they're all wavy baby stuff. They're all just going whiz 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 baz baz. That creates the pattern. Yeah, well, that's some fucking brilliant explanation. That creates the pattern. The QM masking of the electron thingy, blah, blah, interference, blah, 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 blah. That creates it. Well, gee, that was so fucking goddamn enlightening. I can't believe how fucking informative that glop was. So why doesn't some one of you fucking cunts who rate this with 5 thumbs up, why don't one of you weasels show up and explain what that fucking goddamn pile of shit of a crap sentence actually said? Oh yeah, you won't be doing that because that is the biggest pile of mush maybe Pierrot's ever typed. You constantly ask, why don't they consider blah blah blah? Well, that's not what I ask. I ask direct questions like, will you please tell me exactly if it's a diffraction pattern in the single slit experiment, if that's what you say it is, diffraction, then why don't you tell me how it gets diffracted? Because guess what? I think I'll apply that same standard to the double slit experiment. And then if you say it's an interference pattern, why don't you use the word Huygens? Why don't you explain to me exactly how you think these two interfering waves are going to be created? And as soon as you say Huygens, I'm going to say fraud, because all Huygens is a mathematical trick to cut the goddamn single slit into 2 slits and then do the math. So it's a complete and obvious fucking fraud. It's perhaps a bigger fraud than the goddamn invention of dark fucking matter. It's a goddamn piece of nothing. It's a fucking mathematical trick. You multiply it by 1/2 and just pretend there's 2 slits now. Fuck you. And I often try to say, oh, they did, and explain some history of science to you. Where do you do any of this shit, you cunt? Show me a quote where you do anything rational. Ever. Which you block. Demonstrate some fucking history of science you've explained that means anything to anybody rational that I've blocked, asshole. I've read your comments and then I've deleted them because they're shit. I mean, I've read them in videos. I've acknowledged your shitty, stupid, inane, crappy garbage of commenting. They have considered, period. Well, brilliant sentence that is. They did consider this compression pressure theory of gravity. Well, now he's going to tell me what my theory is. Compression pressure theory of gravity. No, that's not even a concept, jackass. I bet if I Google that, I'm going to come up with some other kind of compression theory, like the sun's surface is compressed by gravity, which is compressing the interior of the sun, which is a whole different subject, shithead. I bet you there's no fucking compression pressure theory of gravity that has anything to do with gravity being caused by a fucking field in the universe full of energetic particles. I bet you that's not what compression pressure theory of gravity is, shithead. So again, just totally misrepresent everything I've said, everything in my goddamn videos. So you 5 cunts who thinks this is a rational goddamn fucking comment, you think my theory can somehow be explained as a compression pressure theory of gravity, which is, oh, you know, the pressure of the matter on top of the surface of a gravitational body imposes pressure on the interior of the body. Duh. You think that's the same thing as me saying there's kinetic field gravity. I mean, so what is this? So this is your fucking trying to do something constructive, is to lie about what I'm arguing for? Thank you, liar. When you look closely at what the math of such a model predicts, you see it diverges from reality. Well, where? Show me it, shithead. Show me where you have math of my kinetic theory of gravity. Show me where you have math of that demonstrates it's not consistent with something. You fucking lying cunt. You see, it diverges from reality in the way that QM has not yet been shown to do. Well, that doesn't say a goddamn thing. QM. QM meaning what? What the fuck is your magical QM? Would you please explain what you mean by QM? The magical quantum mechanics, which means the formula that doesn't match the two-slit experiment. Is that QM? Your fake, lousy formula? Is QM Huygens? Is that QM? What the fuck is this QM shit anyway, you fucking cunts? And your stupid QM, your magical QM. It's the biggest fucking fake little, it's like the Holy fucking Ghost. Why don't you just say Holy Ghost? The Holy Ghost says so. The Holy Ghost did it. The Holy Ghost did it. The Holy Ghost. Why don't you just say that? That's all this QM is. It's an undefined, vaporous pile of shit. This presumable perfect math that always works. This undescapable, magnificent formula that's always 100% correct and can tell you exactly how burned your cookies will be. Who the fuck are you crazy bastards with this bullshit? Your founding principle, okay, this ought to be funny, is to have a qualitative, he's getting just this stupid qualitative, quantitative crap. The fact is, your evidence sucks. Will you go show me the lensing images and explain them to me? Go show me the Hubble lensing images and you explain to me how, well, it makes perfectly good sense that there's 100 meters per second gravity at that location. It's quite obvious that all these stars are moving the speed of light into that heavy gravity. Why don't you do that? Why don't you actually do something to make a defense for this crap you keep fucking promoting? And it's crap. It's crap science. It's junk. It's garbage. You won't admit it because you're a fucking goddamn sycophant. Your fucking goddamn Pope fucked you, and now you're just a fucking molested victim, and you can't help but keep defending the fucking molester. You sick fucking kook. Your founding principle is to have a qualitative description of the situations that make common rational sense. Yeah, that's right. Guess what? Everything around me makes rational sense, okay? I get familiar with this gravity thing, and that sort of makes sense. And it makes sense that rain falls, and it makes sense that I think, well, maybe there's something else falling that's making the rain fall, and making this thing fall. And that, yeah, that makes rational sense. It makes no fucking sense at all for me to say, there's a fake invisible dimension, and you can pull on it and stretch it and do all kinds of magical things. Except you can't do it. Only a sun can do it. The sun has the magic keys to turn the magic space-time continuum and do whatever it wants to it, but you can't do it. You can't touch it. You can't even grab it a little bit because you don't have any magical energy that you get from the magical multiverse. The problem is everyone on Earth wants that. No, you don't want it because I'm handing it to you on a silver motherfucking goddamn platter. I mean, I've unified goddamn gravity, time dilation, and magnetism, and inertia, and you're just pretending nothing has happened here. Because you're a cunt! Certainly, all scientists of the 19th century. The problem is that the qualitative prediction... You know what, if I could have talked to Feynman for 1 hour and debunked his debunk of Lesage gravity, you don't think Feynman the very next day would have been saying, holy shit, that's right, that rain shit is nonsense. This could really be the fucking answer. You don't think that's what Feynman would be doing? He'd be saying, shit, this is a perfect model. It answers everything, and if I get rid of this one stupid debunk that I threw in there, this is perfect. It models gravity perfectly. I mean, they actually use Lesage gravity. They call it mock gravity. I mean, they use it in colleges to illustrate gravity because it illustrates it so well. I mean, you fucking cunts. The problem is, the qualitative prediction of all such theories have so far failed. Well, whatever. The qualitative... I mean, you know, what are you going to say to this gibberish? This is a fucking sentence I'm supposed to understand. The qualitative prediction of all such theories have so far failed. In what fucking way has my theory failed, you fucking cunt of a retard? I've debunked the debunks. So what else do I have to do? Will you show me the debunk that still stands? Will you please show me the debunk I need to overcome to get out of this failure that you never proved I failed? You stupid shit. And we are stuck with the math that has worked so well, except it doesn't describe the actual two-slit experiment. It describes a fake experiment that you can't possibly do with fake results that aren't real results. So yes, just keep pushing that good old fake math. And limited to explanations that, with the fake math with the magic Huygens thrown in there, which is, we'll just turn single slits into double slits. Yeah, that's all. They'll just cheat. What's cheating? Isn't that what math is for? Cheating? Yes, of course that's what it's for. And limited to explanations that don't ignore. I ignored something. Either the math or the phenomenon it can give qualitative predictions for. Well, again, I predicted time dilation. I'm predicting that magnets have a limited capacity to produce magnetism, that you can't make the mega universal magnet and it just keeps getting more and more magnetic. There's a prediction for you, jackass. So why don't you get to work on making a magnet the maximum magnet size, because I'll tell you, you're going to fail by the time you get to the size of the moon. But anyway, fuck you. In summary, you won't understand something explained many times. You haven't explained shit. All you keep doing is saying, QM, QM, QM. My gods are right. The Pope is right. The Pope is God. Don't you understand? The smoke came out of the chimney. He's God. He's God. He's God. He's God. He's God. That's all you're doing. You're a fucking creationist lunatic, who keeps saying, I have a fossil with a dinosaur and a human footprint in the same fossil. I do. You fucking weasel. When we claim QM is the most accurate theory so far, we are talking about that any device you build, any optical or other thing known to man, the calculations make predictions correct to the ability to have sensitive enough instruments. Well, again, I'm just saying, well, that's Newton, you jackass. Newton's rings. Newton knew light gets diffracted by goddamn apertures. So you're not inventing any new math here, and I just pointed out how your math is really a crock of fucking shit because it doesn't actually describe the two-slit experiment, you stupid cunt. And you clearly don't even know how to do math rationally. Again, let's just go back to these silly mathematical descriptions where they don't even count the fucking fringes accurately. They don't acknowledge the fact that the true dark fringe is just as big as the light fringe, and the actual measurement should be made, and that this thing isn't two light fringes, it's two light fringes plus a dark fringe. It's actually 3 fringes wide. You can't even get that simple math right, you fucking cunts. You're telling me I'm an ignorant asshole, I'm an obnoxious motherfucker. I say it's goddamn obnoxious that you keep misdescribing something so fundamental to your motherfucking wave theory of fucking religion. Stupid shit. Anyway, where was I? Well, I made ahead of time by the math. Well, again, you're not predicting anything, so what have you predicted that Newton couldn't have predicted? Oh, you're predicting that when you have an aperture, you're going to have diffraction. Well, I guess what? Newton could have predicted that, shithead. For comparison, given all the Newtonian information about the solar system, your predictions will not be as accurate before general relativity has an effect as to those predictions. Well, again, that's probably, in my opinion, another distortion of the truth. I don't think general relativity has a motherfucking cunt thing to do with actually the precession of the sun. Isn't that what we're really talking about when you're talking about the precession of Mercury and the inaccuracy of the precession of Mercury? Is the fact that the sun is actually precessing on its center of gravity, that its center of gravity is moving, and it's the movement of the center of gravity? That's not exactly, you don't need to bend time and space to figure that out. And I don't think the coldest description of Einstein's spent space has anything really to do with creating that Brownian motion in the sun. That's a separate, completely separate equation, you motherfucking cunt. I believe it is a separate equation. So I don't really think it has anything to do with time dilation or bent space creating gravity. I don't think the two things have anything to do with each other, and certainly doesn't have anything to do with relativity, you stupid cunt. General relativity doesn't have a goddamn motherfucking cunt thing to do with goddamn fucking precession of Mercury. Has an effect as to the predictions QM would make about systems of slits. Well, I don't know where you got on slits with general relativity, but now you're really out off the building. Prisms and detectors. Regarding what will be read by the detectors. Well, this is just another pile of absolute mush. So one of these 5 people want to try to defend this pile of absolute mush. On top of this, you are belligerently ignoring all counter-arguments. Well, where are they? How have I ignored them? I've made hours of video responding to these inane, monstrously stupid and insulting, patronizing tripe that you fucking insulting, lying idiots keep typing, and it is lies. Like I said, you're not paying any attention to my criticisms of the single slit experiment. You're not answering a single one of my questions, ever. So fuck you in the ass for making some kind of argument that I'm ignoring something. You're ignoring my direct request that you answer my fucking question. If it's diffraction, explain how it happens in the single slit. And if it's interference, then explain how it happens. Say the word Huygens. Go ahead, I defy you. I dare you to say it. While insisting it's obvious that physics should, above all else, make common sense to you and not be confusing to you at all in principle. That's really not what this is about. It's about the fact that you say, well, light has this magnetic thing happening, and it has this electrical thing happening, and it's completely undescribed. I might as well make it a leprechaun, because where does this come from? And how does this have a reality? How does any of this in any way be cognizable? Again, how am I supposed to cognize this idiotic idea that the invisible space-time fabric-y thing, blobby everywhere-ishness of space-time, and the sun is pulling it in, constantly pulling on the invisible amorphous space-time, and that's pulling stuff with it. You're telling me I should say, oh yeah, that makes sense. That's not a leprechaun. That's not Sasquatch. That's not a fucking reptilian, a reptilian leprechaun. I mean, that might as well just be a reptilian leprechaun. The minute I heard it, I said, what the fuck is this crap? It never made any sense. I never, in my entire, I looked at the electromagnetic spectrum and I saw the words electromagnetic, and it never made any motherfucking sense to me. From the minute I looked at the spectrum, I just said photons close to each other at one end, photons far away from each other at the other end. It's just so fucking obvious. You people are insane. I disagree. You are very confused about it. I don't even know what that means, but fuck you. Hungry hippo. It's not even a fucking proper picture of a hippo. People really shouldn't be able to steal hippopotamuses like that. Insult their dignity. You can't explain the function on your theory in proven quantum applications such as quantum computers. There are no quantum computers, asshole. Doesn't exist. No chance it will ever exist. It's based on a ludicrously nonsensical fucking idiotic theory that you can somehow jump to the future and get the answer without doing the calculation. It's nonsense. There's no such thing as a qubit. It's idiotic. You're fucking lost. You're never going to have a quantum computer. You're just such a fool. It's a holy goddamn ghost. The Holy Ghost is never going to show up. He's not going to have supper with anybody ever. It's never going to happen. You're a fool. And photonics, oh, isn't that a nice word, such as photon-based computing components. I don't even know what that means. But frankly, okay, photons are a lot different than qubits. So I don't deny the existence of photons, but I certainly deny the existence of qubits. You need to explain your model's applicability with the potentially microscale universe. I have already done that, you fucking cunt. I mean, there's nothing incompatible about it. Applicability. I don't even know what applicability be meaning. Why does it have to be applicable? Alright, so Numbly Num points out, there's no such thing as a quantum computer. Well, quite right. Quantum computers. What specific photon-based computing components are you referring to? I think he's just referring to like a webcam or something. I don't know. Yeah, I can explain from my theory how webcams work. Yes, I can. So he expects you won't read. Oh, we don't need that. You think you must not understand. What? I think. Okay, that's better. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense if I put an I there. I think you must not understand the difference between proof and evidence. Now, I explained the difference, right? It's a standard of reason, okay? So it's always going to be kind of a line. And there's clearly where the line is, wow, we're way over the line. And then there's clearly times when you're way under the line. And I guess I'm arguing the photographic evidence of lensing is way under the line. The practical evidence of a round Earth is way over the line. The evidence that in support of Newtonian mechanics, this is just so insulting to Newtonian mechanics. I mean, the foundation of Newton is so rock solid. Again, it's like saying Gould rewrote evolutionary theory and Darwin was an idiot. It just isn't true. The tiny modifications that they've made to Newton are tiny modifications. You really think, okay, so how much time do you think the average space shuttle computers, all the computers on the space shuttle, by percentage, how many hours of processing, or microminutes or seconds anyway, gigabytes of processing, gigabytes, I don't know if that's a proper statement, anyway, are doing Newtonian math, and how many are doing Einstein field theory? What do you think the percentage are, jackass? I think they got all the way back to. I think they went all the way to the moon and back without doing a single Einstein equation. Asshole. If proof equals evidence, evidence supporting Newtonian mechanics would provide a proof of the theory. Well, again, most of it is substantially proven. It's not proven that it's a complete theory, just as Darwin wasn't a complete theory. But obviously there was proof that people had bred pigeons and created attributes in pigeons through breeding, so that selective breeding worked, and that the theory that was natural selection in the real world made perfectly rational sense. And that theory I don't think you're going to undermine, because you figure out that, oh, there's punctuated equilibrium and these other little effects that happen in the environmental system. So the fact that you add something to the system doesn't mean the fundamental theory of Newton is in any way in jeopardy. So there's nothing wrong with most of Newton's mechanics. 99% of what Newton said was correct. However, the theory, in fact, as any theory, incomplete. See, as any theory, all theories are incomplete. So somehow the theory that the world is round is incomplete. The theory that the sun's on fire is incomplete. Fuck you. The theory that 2 + 2 = 4 is incomplete. No, it's not incomplete, jackass. As special relativity shows, well, special relativity doesn't show any of this shit. Special relativity doesn't really show a goddamn thing. General relativity is the real big story. Well, special relativity. No, you're right. Special relativity is the time dilator. No, it's general relativity. Yeah. There's no proof in the science, not even F = ma as proven. Well, I don't know why you would even doubt that, but I don't even like F = ma, because this whole idea of using the word F doesn't really mean anything, because it's not defined as anything. I mean, force doesn't really. Let's see how to say this correctly. Force has to be directed, and it's always in a form. Force is in a form, which is in the same form as mass and acceleration. So force is just the way you translate mass acceleration into mass acceleration. Force is always in a form of some kind of thing that has acceleration in a direction. So if I turn mass and acceleration into light, I'm creating something that has mass in the direction of its acceleration, if you get my point. So I mean, I'm just saying, I don't even like this as an equation. I don't think it means anything. The word force just isn't defined, even though it's considered a law. Well, I don't consider it a law. I just consider there's clearly a relationship of conservation. So I would say ma equals ma. Yeah, okay, I would say if you're going to have a mass accelerate and at you, that there's going to be mass accelerated after an event. So if you have an interaction, you're going to have mass accelerating turned into mass accelerating. No science will say any physical law is proven. Well, again, then that's their fault. Okay, if that's like saying that OJ wasn't proven that he cut his wife's head off. Yeah, the preponderance of the evidence, more than complete reasonable evidence, yes, it was proven. So I'm just saying, if no scientist is willing, it's like saying I'm not willing to say I'm an atheist or something because I haven't discounted every Bugs Bunny theory. It's just plain stupid. So if you want to be a stupid cunt, go ahead and be a stupid cunt. But there's no principle involved there at all. Okay? If you can't accept beyond reasonable doubt as a standard for proof, then you're an idiot. And reasonable doubt would be there has to be some alternative possibility of some other theory. There's no possibility that Bugs Bunny is God. It's just not a possibility. I can prove Bugs Bunny was made up, and I can prove that he wasn't made up by anybody trying to make a God. Only evidenced. This is one of the greatest strengths of the scientific method. Oh, fuck you. The scientific method. Dark matter. That's the scientific method. They don't even accurately, they have a formula that's the most proven predictive formula in the history of mankind, and it doesn't even accurately describe the two-slit experiment. Well, what are you talking about? Your method sucks. I mean, what proof is there of gravitation? They're calling it gravitational lensing. Does it make any sense? Does it fit Einstein's math? Is there any reason whatsoever to call this shit gravitational lensing? No. And you're calling that the strength of the scientific method. We've established the relationship. You won't allow anybody to challenge one single item in your fucking goddamn theology. Okay? And yet you're saying all this shit is proven. Quantum mechanics is the most proven theory in the history of mankind. That's your rhetoric, jackass. There will never be any experimental proof of any physical result, only evidence. Well, again, if evidence isn't what you make a proof out of, then you're an idiot. If you don't understand that evidence has a threshold of beyond reasonable rejection, you can't reject it, you can't reject the obvious conclusion the evidence points to, then you're a fucking idiot. Water's wet, jackass, and I can prove it beyond all reasonable or any doubt whatsoever, because the goddamn motherfucking cunt word wet was invented to describe what water is, so it can't possibly be an inaccurate statement. It is a proof. You're done, you're finished, you're an idiot if you don't believe water is wet. I know you just can't stand the centrality of experimental verification. I don't know what that even means. Verification in the sciences. Well, again, you're making this implication that somehow I've performed bad experiments, or that somehow I'm using bad evidence to defend my theory, or some obscure bullshit. That somehow I'm saying something extraordinary that I haven't defended with extraordinary evidence. No, I haven't done any of that, you fucking cunt. You have. You're defending the extraordinary theory that's defended with dark motherfucking cunt matter. And photons that go through two slits at once and then send out radar and decide what to do. That's your theory, shithead. Your extraordinary claims and your very not even ordinary evidence. But it really is essential. Now, fuck you, you pompous, arrogant, motherfucking cunt of a weasel. People ask you the same questions over and over again because... No. They ask the same questions because they're not paying any goddamn attention. They really don't care about hearing the truth. All they're going to keep saying, but Jesus said, but Jesus walked on water, but Jesus cured the sick, but Jesus rose the dead. They can't say anything else. That's all that's in your fucking little weaselly cunt brains. You can't think honestly, you can't think openly, you can't think outside of your little tiny dicked box. You're a tiny dicked weasel and you just can't be anything else. People, though you seem to believe you're answering the question. Well, I think I answered what kinetics is, and I explained to Hoffaday now twice that kinetic interactions don't have any flexible or elastic parts. They can't spin the energy away. They can't bend the energy away. They can't release it in any other way. So it wouldn't matter what their shape was. As soon as they made contact on one quanta of space, the contact would be automatically kinetic and it would automatically exchange all force. Just as the two kinetic balls exchange all their force through the tiny little space that they hit. That tiny little space, all the force goes through that tiny little space. Yeah, that's the way it works, jackass. Your answers are vague and riddled with contradictions. Another lie, okay? Prove that was something. Show one of my answers and show how it's vague and riddled with contradictions. It's just a fucking gross lie. You're just a lying, slandering, motherfucking cunt of a weasel. Now, I've asked you a ton of questions. Again, what do you call single slit diffraction? Do you call it diffraction? Then how is the light diffracted? When an aperture diffracts light and creates Newton's rings, how does it do it? When we ask you how we want some calculations, well, I gave you inverse square rule. I don't need any calculations, for fuck's sake. You keep saying I'm obligated to present you math I agree with. Okay, take all of Einstein on the subject of the orbit of Mercury, and I'll accept all of it. to take, let's see, all the theory on maybe spin up and spin down. Yeah, I'll accept all of it. What do you want me to say? I don't accept that the standard model of the atom, because I think that's a convoluted pile of shit. Something axiomatic, something precise. Well, again, I don't need to do any of that precise shit. I'm disputing the idea of bent space, shithead. I'm not disputing the existence of the convergence. I'm disputing the idea that you need to bend time, okay, for matter to have its metabolism degraded. I'm saying deteriorated metabolism does not require you to bend time, but time will, of course, be distorted if your matter is distorted. Jerk. If you're dancing as fast as you can, I ask you to move stage left, you're not going to be able to dance as fast. Shit for brain. Respond to that simple analogy. Show me how that analogy has some kind of incorrect dynamic in it. It's a simple metaphor. It's a simple description. Okay? I couldn't draw it in more bright crayon. The contrast is beautiful. I'm saying if you're doing dance steps, foot here, foot here, foot here, foot here, foot here, foot here, and I ask you to do those dance steps as fast as you can, and then I ask you to take a step right, okay, every 5 steps, you can't figure out that you're not going to be able to hit the same places on the floor as fast? You're saying that's not true? No, that's fucking true. It's a perfectly good metaphor for what happens to your matter when you have velocity. Your matter can't dance as fast, retard. Now make a counter-argument to that specific metaphor. Please. Just taking this and calling us all fuckheads. I'm calling you fuckheads because you're a rude, obnoxious, motherfucking, patronizing, lying motherfucking cunt who sits there and keeps saying, we have qualified all this, we have done all the experiments, we have all the evidence that's necessary, we have proven this stuff unassailable. None of your crap is unassailable. It's all quite assailable. Gravitational lensing is assailable. The evidence sucks. The 2-slit experiment as evidence that photons have a wave property sucks. Help us understand. We just want clarity. No, you don't. You want to show up here and be a pompous, arrogant, motherfucking cunt of a prick. You're not asking rational questions or reasonable questions, and you're certainly not doing any of it in any kind of polite manner. So what the fuck do you expect? Again, I'm supposed to take your dick in my ass and say thank you very much? I won't do that, motherfucking cunt. Unlike you, I'm not that fucking goddamn gay. I'm telling you, keep your motherfucking dick out of my ass, and until you can talk to me with respect, you can go fuck yourself forever. Why not do something more akin to a formal lecture? Well, I just wrote a formal paper that you haven't done anything to make any argument whatsoever that has required me to make a single goddamn change to that document. So you're obviously absolutely useless in making any kind of counter argument because you certainly haven't affected my perception of its quality any. It's not a complete enough answer. Well, I guess I'm just so sick of hearing shit like that. It's a fucking hell of a lot more complete than bent space, jackass. It's a hell of a lot more complete than bent time, a fake dimension, and we'll fakely bend it. Fuck you. Again, where's the evidence of space-time? Where do you have one single shred of evidence that a space-time actually exists? There's evidence of a convergence we call gravity that's consuming, quite obviously, a massive amount of energy that you're not accounting for. And we know that there's a phenomenon called time dilation or metabolism regression, whatever you want to call it, where clocks slow down when you accelerate them. Yeah, we know that's a fact. How does that prove that the dimension of time exists and that you can bend it? It's an honest question. It seems initially that you are describing a sort of binary operation on a vector space. Again, you just keep using your own you know, your own fucking, you have these chairs called Holy Ghost, Jesus, God, and I'm somehow supposed to sit there and put things in the Holy Ghost chair, and in the God chair, and in the fucking Jesus chair. No, I'm not playing your game, jackass. I'm breaking your game. I'm saying your game is made of absolute fucking goddamn bullshit, and I'm giving you a theory of evolution. There's nowhere in the theory of evolution anything you can put in the Holy Ghost chair, and there's no God, and there's no motherfucking Jeebus. I'm not playing with your silly, idiotic concepts, jackass. I have reconceptualized the game. The Hubble images are photoshopped. They measure non-visible parts of the electromagnetic spectrum. Okay, look, this argument is... Look, who cares that they added extra color? Who cares that the contrast really isn't right? That you see stuff that you really wouldn't see. You know, the fringes and the fuzz gets highlighted and all kinds of stuff like that. So the proportion and the prettiness of them isn't really real. So yeah, that part's fake. But the idea, look, that we have really good images of things very far away is a fact. So I mean, the Hubble images have a great deal of value. And so the fact that they're photoshopping them to get images doesn't mean they photoshopped the fucking lensing smears. And obviously if they were going to deliberately put fake lensing smears in, they'd do a better job of it. They'd put the damn smears in the right place. They wouldn't have to invent fake dark matter that's not even possible the minute you create it, you create a fucking paradox. When discussing magnetism, your paper, there is only one small discussion on the field lines in the bar magnet. Well, that's because it's really not relevant to the theory, which is polarization of the field which is causing the magnetism. That's the important feature here, jerk. Really. It's the only the important feature is magnets polarize field energy that goes through them. That's the important feature, which are related to the demagnetizing field. I don't even know what a demagnetizing field is. There's no demagnetizing field in magnets. What are you talking about, you retard? In magnetism, there are many effects that account for, but most critically, you have neglected the quantum mechanical, fuck you, exchange interaction, which is necessary to explain the formation of domains leading to ferromagnetic behavior. I don't have to use quantum mechanics to explain why electrons line up. No fucking way. It emerges due to the Pauli exclusion principle, which places mathematical conditions on the wave function of the electrons. Well, again, you want to say that that mathematics is somehow critical to understanding the concept of alignment and polarization. I don't think it's at all necessary. And clearly, I'm saying most of this quantum mechanical math is just Newton's math. It's recognizing the fact that there's an actual phenomenon. Okay, this is a truth. When photons hit electrons, they interact by Feynman diagram descriptions. Okay, there's angles at which they can possibly emerge. They can't go do this. They can only do this or do this. They can only move at like 12 o'clock and 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock. All right, there's certain rules like that built into the structure of the subatomic fucking wave spiral dynamics, retard. Just like the photons have to be created at a frequency. These are mechanical elements of the goddamn machinery, you stupid cunt. I'm not disputing that in any way, you jackass. Upon accounting for the exchange interaction, quantum mechanics can then very accurately predict the behavior of extremely small magnets, nanostructures. Well, again, you're saying quantum mechanics is predicting it. No, all you're doing is predicting it based on proven experiments. So what is the great prediction? It's not a great prediction. It's not a great prediction. I'll predict that a small electrical wire will not take 5 billion amps of electricity pushed through it. There, now am I brilliant because I predicted that? No, I'm not. When the problem is too complicated to solve analytically, the solution can be obtained numerically from desired geometry, external field, magnetic material, etc. All this stuff doesn't mean a motherfucking thing. You're just missing the point of the whole video, which is an explanation of how magnetism works, you fucking retard. I mean, you couldn't be too off the goddamn fucking subject. Oh, God. I mean, really, what? I mean, there's something critical about quantum mechanics and polarized sunglasses. We have to get into the quantum mechanical effects that are causing the sunglasses to polarize the light to understand the concept of a polarizing filter. Fuck you. Is there a conversation of the number of arrows? Is there a conversion of the number of arrows moving at me at any time? Is there a conversion? A conservation, sorry, okay. Is there a conservation of the number of arrows moving at me at any one time? There's a conservation in the entire universe, okay? You can't, no arrow can be changed. So if I'm an arrow and I'm going this way, yeah, I'm an up arrow, and I change to a sideways arrow. The up arrow went into the field, okay? So now the field has an extra up arrow in it, right? It's got one extra because I let one go. You get it? And the field has, because I took this arrow going that way, the field is now short, one arrow going this way. So there's one too many going this way now. And there's one too many going this way now. Yeah, that's the conservation. It's complete conservation. And there's local fields, and then medium fields, and then extended fields. And it depends on how far you go out, how far you have lost some element of imbalance that you'll never get back again. Some imbalances created in the local field end up going all the way to the end of the universe, and the entire field ends up imbalanced, in a sense, until you get to that very, very wide dimension. But I'm just saying that, yeah, so you can just say that the pollution, I throw some pollution in a lake. It's a lot of pollution in the local part of the lake, and then there's less pollution further out, and less pollution and less pollution. You can't get that? What determines the total number of arrows coming at me at any one time? Well, the density of the field. So that's whatever the total density of the field is, and it's a preposterous number, trust me. Okay, it's the inverse of the vacuum space. So I'm just saying, you know that the vacuum would be two black holes 2 meters from each other, and you know that force, that amount of force, is this incredibly huge to calculate number, to be a gigantic amount of force to hold those two things apart. You would have to consume a preposterous number of calories of energy or force to keep them apart. Well, that's the density of the field. The field is that motherfucking dense right now, falling right on you, and the only reason why you don't feel it is because it's completely balanced. It's like 2 nuclear bombs going off, and it just doesn't do a damn thing to you because it's even. Obviously that wouldn't happen in the real world, but I'm just saying that's the analogy. The forces, it doesn't matter how much of it's impacting you. All that matters is imbalance. You don't get this fucking truth, but that's all that matters, is the imbalance, is when the force is revealed. No force can ever be seen until there's an imbalance. Alright, you said that when the body acquires a velocity in relation to the vector field, I don't know, you have to use your words, it becomes a target for more vectors. No, I didn't. What I said was, if I go, what fucking goddamn Feynman was arguing, that is, if you move through the field, you're going to hit more arrows coming at you now, because you're moving into them. Alright, that was his argument, that somehow it slowed me down because I'm going to hit more arrows. And my argument is that no, because there's less arrows for you to hit, because there's less tangent arrows inside of me. I have more forward arrows, so it's forward arrow against forward arrow, and as I explained, that's a kinetic zero. That's a non-event. So I can't possibly be slowed down by a non-event. Idiot. Becomes a target for more vectors of certain direction, but less from other directions. I mean, I don't know. I've explained that so many times. It's just, you just obviously can't understand that if Feynman's argument was, if I'm running in the rain, more rain hits me in the face. Well, the argument is it won't matter because there's less face to hit. Because most of my fucking body now is doing forward. It's not doing face. You're just too stupid. Head-on collisions are 0. If you just get that, then you can figure out that any time something's converted into a head-on collision, it's zeroed. What is the relationship between the changing quantities? If Vx equals number of arrows incident on the body x, what determines V? The velocity of the speed of goddamn light. Okay, so clearly a photon is moving 186 miles an hour, whatever the number is. Obviously, I'm not going to move that fast, right? Going forward. So let's say a little graviton hits me that I'm going to absorb as acceleration. So one graviton hits me. It's moving 186,000 miles a second. I, on the other hand, will not move 186,000 miles a second. So obviously, the speed of that photon is going to be spread over all the tangential dimensions, the perpendicular dimensions. Okay, all the parts not going forward and not going backward, obviously. Obviously, the forward parts the photon can't hit because they're already going the speed of light ahead of it, and it can't catch up to them in any way. And all the parts going backwards, it's going to crash directly into its zero effect. So the only ones that matter are the tangential dimensions. Okay? And so now it's tested that speed is now going to be spread over all the mass in the perpendicular dimensions. So you could argue something like 2/3 of my mass will now have their percentage of the photon. So take the entire atomic weight of 2/3 of my mass and then divide it by the speed of light, and you'll find out what my velocity will be. Get it? There's your equation. Understood? Or if x we attach the rigid frame 0, x, y, x per se, then what determines the number of arrows incident on the x and coordinates of the y? And it's an honest question. Well, I'm just saying, I understand the question, and I'm saying that the component that's getting distributed is the speed of light velocity. The photon doesn't have strength, it has velocity. And its velocity will be spread over the two dimensions it will affect. The two perpendicular dimensions to the photon's movement. Those two dimensions will move forward by their atomic weight a certain amount per photon impact. So you just take the speed of light and you divide it into the total mass of the perpendicular dimensions. Very interesting. I must learn more. Ah, good. That's the proper thing to say. Very good. Listen to more, read more, find out more, investigate more. Good, good, good. Don't believe it because some cunt says it. Make him explain it. Shall I press the reload button? Yeah, we'll go for it. Ooh. Oh, okay, it's just another YouTuber. Check private messages on Magnetism channel. It says you can delete the comment. That's really exciting. I have a private message. Oh, in Magnetism channel. I'm not going there. Yeah. Sorry, can't do that. I have to sign in. I don't want to do that. Later. Private message. He has a private message for me. From who? See, you should have given me more info. Like, you have a super cool message for me about super cool things happening. That would have been super cool. You're probably just going to tell me that Piro has a very small penis. And, I already know that. Alright. So, yeah, I think we're done. Where the hell was I? What was I looking for? Oh, I was just going to go to the draft science page and just see if it's been visited by anything unusual. So I have to write the conclusion, fix perpendicular, and we're almost done. And then we'll do our submitting thing and see if we fail once again to get properly reviewed. Nope, nothing here interesting at all. No, I just missed the good old days. You know, now that all the big channels have all made their servers secure, and so they're wasting a whole bunch of extra bandwidth going to the server to serve pages. Yeah, you can't do the you can't find out where somebody came from, which was quite annoying. I mean, all the referral data is destroyed, so you can't really measure keyword searches or anything. I mean, this part should really bother people, because I did notice this, that, you know, depending on how you're signed in, YouTube gives you different search results. So if you're signed in on one channel, you'll get a set of results for a keyword. If you're signed in on another channel, you get different results for the keyword. But Google does that also. So, you know, unless you do a private browsing thing, you know, and disconnect from it knowing who you are, it gives you completely different search results. And I mean substantially different, like more than 50% of the references will be different. I mean, it's surprisingly different. And the fact that this doesn't bother anyone else that I know of. I mean, everybody just says, fine, Google can do whatever the fuck it wants with this indexing of the internet. It's okay with everybody. And I mean, I guess it's like this whole science thing I'm running into. You're just saying, how can this not be something that bothers people fundamentally? The primary index, the card catalog of our library, is being doctored. And they're giving different books to homeless people, then to this person, then to that person, then to this person. And it doesn't bother you people? That we are allowing these capitalists to do this? To sit there and find out you're a fat person and then put chocolate bars into the results? And that's okay with you? Not okay with me, fuckers. This is not the super information super highway we were promised. This is the information shyster way. And it sucks that you people have all just jumped on and said, okay. Bend space me to the multiverse. Fucking idiots. Religious kooks all.